Good afternoon. I'm Spot On Weather meteorologist Matthew Euler. Today we're going to title the presentation Smorgasbord of Weather because that's exactly what we're getting around Southeast Virginia, and we do see a lot of up and down in temperatures in the coming days. Right now we got a little bit of rain, we had a little bit of fog last night, mild temperatures yesterday on Sunday the 28th of January. Now it's cooled down much more today on Monday the 29th, so let's get right to it. So let's take a look at the current analysis today, Monday, 29 January 2018. And what we have is a ridge, an upper level ridge building across the western U.S. and a deepening trough downstream of that ridge into the midwestern U.S. Overall, the temperatures here at 5,000 feet, the coldest air is denoted by the purples, the maroons, and the orange colors here over Canada. So we are cool, much colder than what we were yesterday. We have temperatures really in the mid-40s across the area of Hampton Roads. We don't expect a huge douse of very cold air to come in until tomorrow. We'll get a nice little shot of cold air that will break off the main cold from Canada and come down to the East Coast into Southeast Virginia. As of right now, we got, again, more of a mostly cloudy to overcast day today across the area with light drizzle falling across the area. 24-hour forecast on Tuesday, the 30th of January. So what we have is this upper level trough at 30,000 feet that is sliding to the east. As a result, that's going to allow a bubble of Arctic air to break off and come southeastward from the Midwest into the Mid-Atlantic region of Southeast Virginia as well, as we have colder air coming in behind a secondary upper air disturbance that will move through the area overnight, Monday night the 29th into Tuesday morning the 30th. Then the winds pick up out of the north-northwest on Tuesday afternoon behind the actual upper air disturbance, and this colder air will filter. It'll be a brief Arctic cold shot of air that will come into the area. Tomorrow we're expecting a period of light snow showers as an upper air disturbance moves through. We are still only expecting a dusting to 1 inch of snow across the Hampton Roads areas, mainly on grassy surfaces. So not a major impact snow or winter event coming in tomorrow on the 30th of January. Looking ahead now to the 48-hour forecast Wednesday the 31st of January, you'll notice how this trough is still fairly deep and has more of a negative tilt. Extending axis is from northwest towards the southeast in a negative tilt manner. However, it is pushing offshore. We will get a brief upper level ridge that will build in for Thursday to start the month of February off. You see the coldest air is associated in the base of this long wave trough. A lot of the cold air is filtering into Southeast Virginia, the Arctic air. It will be a brief period. The coldest temperatures will be expected to be tomorrow, Tuesday the 30th, and Wednesday the 31st. And then we'll see some moderation in temperatures for Thursday. Thursday the 1st of February. Notice how that trough is now moved off into the Atlantic Ocean, the maritime areas of Canada. We do have an area of troughing starting to develop once again over the Central Plain states into Nebraska and into Minnesota. Most of the coldest air, Arctic air, will remain locked up well to the north over Canada at this time on Thursday, the 1st of February. So on Thursday the 1st, we expect that we will get more of a southwesterly wind again across Southeast Virginia. Temperatures will moderate, conditions will be dry. So the weather looks good for Thursday the 1st. Highs will climb into the lower 50s, about a high of 53 degrees is what we're expecting on Thursday after a very cold couple of days, both Tuesday and Wednesday. Moving on now to Friday, the 2nd of February. You can see how this trough now is deepening. We got a very strong upper level low situated on Hudson Bay, Canada. That's going to allow colder air to filter on its backside right on down to the lower 48. You can see by these orange and maroon and red colors and purple colors, cold air is now starting to filter in. The next outbreak of Arctic air will move in to the Mid-Atlantic region with time. Moving on to Saturday now, you can see the coldest air is going to really pivot into the eastern United States. We have a long wave trough, so that cold air is funneling down to the base of the long wave from central Canada for Friday and Saturday. So we do have a frontal system that will be moving through the area on Friday. So we are expecting some rain showers, return to some wet weather on Friday. And then as this colder air, the Arctic air filters into the Southeast Virginia area, we're expecting a changeover from rain to a mixture of rain snow to a possible brief period of snow shower activity overnight Friday night into Saturday morning for Southeast Virginia. Again, we're not expecting a major winter event with the Friday night, Saturday morning system as well. We just don't really have any defined deep areas or very strong areas of low pressure sitting offshore in conjunction with the Arctic air. So we are not expecting a major snow impact Friday night and Saturday as well. Moving on to Sunday, the 4th of February. For many football fans, you really love this day because this is Super Bowl Sunday this year. So what can we expect on that day? We do expect cold air. You see ridging now developing off the west coast of the United States. Now, this is something we'll have to keep an eye on, this upper level ridging. How far this amplifies up into Western Canada, if it does so, and how much this will then deepen the downstream long wave trough. It's possible that it could be much colder for our area, but at the present time, we're forecasting more of a zonal west to east flow. You see where the coldest air represented by the yellow color is. It remains well north of the U.S.-Canadian border, really over Hudson Bay in conjunction with this upper level low. So we don't expect a huge major outbreak of cold, but it still will be much colder again on Saturday the 3rd into Sunday the 4th. Do expect a little more moderation in temperatures on the 4th, and we do expect more of a dry condition on the 4th. All right, now we're going to move along to looking at the teleconnection patterns. Just wanted to point out again, this line, this black line indicates it's a zero value associated with it. So anytime you see these blue little lines go below this dark line, this zero line here, that indicates a negative oscillation, negative trend to the Arctic oscillation. We're looking at Arctic oscillation AO on the left. So you can see a sharp negative trend in the Arctic oscillation, and looking at past teleconnections and sensible weather, that generally yields a much colder winter weather pattern across the eastern United States. So you can see how much these Arctic oscillation went negative for an extended period of December. Then we had very cold 10-day period from Christmas into the first week of January. And look at the Arctic oscillation. Again, it's tanking pretty low coming up here the first couple weeks of February. The Pacific North American pattern here on the right is showing a positive trend. The lines are above the mean 0 degree zero line here. So we do expect a positive Pacific North American pattern, which that usually indicates ridging or upper level height rises over the western U.S. and deepening or lowering heights in the eastern U.S. or troughing. So those two teleconnection forecasts generally favor a colder first 2 weeks of February. Looking at the European model, and this is just an extended outlook from today, the 29th of January through February 12th, the average high for Southeast Virginia is 49 degrees. So you can see the European is forecasting colder temperatures in the long range, fairly consistent cold. A couple of really cold days starting for basically this Wednesday and Saturday, February 3rd. And then you see temperatures remain fairly in the low to mid 40s below the normal value of 49 degrees for this time of year. The GFS, American GFS model is also looking colder. You can see that, again, temperatures do spike up a couple days, 54 on Thursday on the GFS and then 52 on Sunday the 4th. But then you can see the drop-offs right after those brief mild periods. So the long-range final thoughts, what we're looking at is we're looking at an upper-level trough that's going to move in overnight tonight, Monday night, and then into Tuesday morning. This is going to result in a period of light frozen mix of rain, snow, transitioning over to light snow showers. Again, we're not expecting a big major impact event with this. Dusting to 1 inch of snow is possible, especially in the grassy areas. We expect the conditions to dry out tomorrow afternoon. Stronger north-northwest winds blow into the area. Will make for very cold overnight Tuesday night into the 20s. Temperatures will drop. And then not rising, but they'll only be rising up to the mid to upper 30s on Wednesday. Now the teleconnections are favoring a colder first 2 weeks of February. That's still on the table, as the Madden-Julian oscillation will eventually transition from a milder phase 6, into a phase 8. Along with the combination of that negative Arctic oscillation and the positive Pacific North American pattern I was showing you here in the long range, negative AO and a positive PNA. In addition, we have looked at other indicators for colder temperatures in the east. One of them is known as stratospheric warming events or sudden stratospheric warming events, and we do see a stratospheric warming that's taking place high up over the Arctic region. Well high up in the atmosphere, which generally indicates a colder lower atmosphere. So when the atmosphere high up warms, the opposite occurs in the lower part of the atmosphere. And we do see that right now. Judah Cohen at AER. If you type in the letters AER, Arctic Oscillation, he does great blogs on Mondays every week. And he's an expert at that area, and he really takes a really good hard look at that type of stratospheric warming events and the impacts on temperatures. All right, so the pattern remains very active with periods of wintry precip possible between 2 and 10 February. And this is going to occur primarily along leading edges of Arctic air intrusions or air masses as they come in with strong cold fronts. So generally, storm systems this time of year really feed off strong temperature changes across short distances. So we'll have to watch the pattern closely, especially that 5 to 8 February timeframe. There's some indications that we could have a bigger East Coast winter storm in that specific time window. So we'll just have to keep a close eye on things. The potential's there for multiple storm systems with wintry precip close by, as well as possibly a big storm somewhere in this time period. So again, we'll keep an eye on that here at Spot On Weather. We do have very cold air remaining across Canada the next 20 days, and we took a look at some of that. You can see this much colder air mass just sitting over Canada in a persistent manner. It really doesn't go away. It kind of waxes and wanes, but you kind of see that it's existing up there, and as a result, we have a good possibility, if the jet stream were to set up differently with more amplification or troughing in the east, it could result in a very cold first couple weeks of February into the eastern U.S. The real question is the orientation of the cold and the overall jet stream pattern. Will the jet stream pattern set up to basically confine the cold to the Canadian-U.S. border across the northern U.S. from the northern plains of New England? Or will it become more amplified, and will that trough dig deeper into the eastern U.S.? So that's something we're going to keep a very close eye on. The potential is there for a very wintry first couple weeks of February. There's no doubt about it. So we'll just have to keep an eye on things. But at the present time, what we're expecting are chunks of cold air to basically move down from Canada into southeast Virginia, the East Coast as a whole, basically every 3 to 5 days. And in between those Arctic chunks of air, we do expect brief warm-ups or mild periods. So it's going to be a topsy-turvy, up-and-down type temperature pattern for southeast Virginia. And, we're going to get a little bit of everything, hence the name, a smorgasbord of weather for today's presentation. So that wraps things up today at Spot On Weather. I hope everybody's having a great Monday, the 29th of January. And remember, if we're not spot on, we're not doing it right. Be sure to tune to our forecast, USA Weather forecast, on the Facebook page. And we appreciate your subscription to our channel. Have a great afternoon, everybody.